Hello everyone, welcome to the Recruiters Hangout. Today we are discussing how should recruiters be using mobile. Not should they, but how should they, so there's an assumption there. And we've got guest Mike Taylor, the MD of Web-Based Recruitment with us, and Matt Alder, the Digital Social Mobile Strategist at MetaShift. We're also joined by our usual hosts, Alan Whitford, Mark Stevens, Louise Triance and myself. I'll just go into a bit more on that in a minute. If you would like to ask questions, please use the Twitter hashtag Rechangout, all one word, and Louise will be keeping an eye on that. And also you can use the Q&A app we started using if you're on Google+. So go to the Google Plus Hangout event page, put in a question on the Q&A, and I'll be keeping an eye on that and hand it to Alan. Round. We thought we've been soft selling a bit too much, and we just wanted to talk about the people that host it a bit more. It was suggested by myself, and I just wanted to talk about our four hosts here. So we've got Alan Whitford, who actually hosts the Hangout, and Alan's the strategy consultant for recruitment challenges, talent acquisition, candidate experience, employer brand, recruitment and social media. He has over 25 years experience in developing and implementing and tuning recruitment technologies. He's the founder of Abtech Partnership. Alan's delivered across-the-board change management, process evolution, employment branding, high-touch candidate experience, including the integration of social media platforms and initiatives. So if you want to have a chat with Alan, if you're interested in any of that, abtechpartnership.com at Alan Whitford. We've got Mark here as well, who joins in. He's the founder of the F10 Group, a highly regarded recruitment strategist specialising in improvement recruitment efficiencies through technology and process. He's also founder of Smart Recruit Online Recruitment Alliance. That's rcexperts.org.uk. at mstevens21. Louise, founder of UK Recruiter, go-to source for information news, UK recruitment industry, largest online community of recruiters in the UK. Louise founded UK Recruiter over 15 years ago and is the most connected woman in the UK in the recruitment market. With nearly 25 years experience. That's ukrecruiter.co.uk at Louise Triance. I'm Louis Welcomme from Colleague Software, marketing person, most connected marketing person in Norwich, in the recruitment software area. And Colleague Software, we provide specialist recruiters, all-in-one recruitment system for managing the entire recruitment process. So that's colleague.eu at colleague.rs. We should cut those elevator pitches down, I think, Alan, maybe even less. But I'll hand over to Alan now. He will start the conversation, introduce our guests.
Hi, everybody. So, can you hear me, Louis?
I can hear you. Loud and clear.
Okay, that's fine, because as soon as you went to live feed, I lost my picture and I had to log in again. So anyway, welcome everybody. I'm basically flying blind. The good thing is if you can hear me but can't see me, you won't know that I'm actually in my mobile office, my Nissan. I'm sitting in a car park because we're committed to making sure that the Rec Hangouts work smoothly. I think we've got a great show today. Mike Taylor will introduce himself in a minute, but I met Mike when he was one of the very early adopters of online recruitment when he worked for Nokia. And Matt Alder, back in the day, was one of the first trying recruitment ad agencies to realize that online was here to stay and wasn't just a passing fad. And of course, we're still struggling on the same soapbox, trying to convince people to do this stuff. Matt and Mike, welcome to the show. Mike, you want to say a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for the invitation to take part today. Yeah, my name is Mike Taylor. My background is HR and recruitment, and I've worked for IBM, Motorola, and like you mentioned, Nokia. In fact, I was reminiscing the other day, when I joined Nokia in November 1998, they didn't have a .co.uk website. There was just a .com website, which was for the whole of the organisation, and I ended up being responsible for their e-recruitment strategy. So I was part of their global advisory board and actually rolling out the internet and internet recruitment across Nokia. With the downturn in telecoms in 2001, I took voluntary redundancy and set up web-based recruitment, where we've been doing online recruitment marketing for companies. And for the last 5 years, I've been running the social media in recruitment conference and also mobile and video in recruitment. And what's interesting about today is that I ran the first mobile conference back in 2010. and we'll see how the discussion goes. But we haven't made a lot of progress since then. So I'd be interested in the views of the panel as to why that is. That's me.
Thanks, Mike.
Have we lost Alan?
We might have lost.
All right.
I think we've
Thanks
lost
for that.
Alan. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Mike. Matt, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, no, I will.
He is sitting in his car, and the rumour has it that he has a burger van attached to the back of his car, so he's probably got some customers.
Yeah, he's driven off or something. But yeah, to introduce myself, I'm Matt Alder. I work for a company called MetaShift. Like Mike and Alan, I've been involved in online recruitment for what seems like a very, very long time. I actually, when I was back working in ad agency land, my agency did the first ever UK recruitment marketing campaign on mobile, which was back in 2006, which seems like a very, very long time ago now, and I think we probably had to wait nearly sort of another 7 years till someone did another, did another kind of recruitment-based mobile campaign. Now, I principally focus on helping employers and recruiters understand innovation and how it can help them attract better quality candidates to their organization, and mobile is a massive focus in terms of what I do. So doing a huge amount of research into how mobile is being used around the world for recruitment. I also have a company, 3Sparks, who I work with, and we've developed a mobile recruiting platform. So mobile pretty much at the kind of center of everything I do these days.
Thank you, Matt. Have we got Alan back?
Well, I sound like I'm
got
back.
a picture of him.
Alan's back.
Can you hear me then? Yeah, I'm back. So we just explained what mobile is. I think that I'm actually doing the first bit of mobile recruitment, which is I'm in a car with a phone and a computer. Isn't that mobile recruitment?
Of a type.
Right.
Yeah.
Alan, first question.
Mobile recruitment.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't go into defining mobile, so we've just done the introductions. So, do you want to kick it off with that? Do you want to kick that off, Mike?
Defining mobile, yeah. It's interesting, as Matt said earlier before we started, people think of it from a tablet point of view or a mobile phone point of view, but basically, from my point of view, it's anything where you can actually view websites or try and interact or apply for a job on whatever device you have at the time, where you're not sat in front of your desktop. So it could be anything, in my view.
Matt, how would you define it?
Yeah, pretty much the same way. I think that where we're getting to is we're really kind of moving from the age of the desktop PC into this age of devices, and whether that's a tablet or a smartphone, or coming up in the future pretty quickly, smart glasses, smart watches, whatever it is, that to me is mobile. And I think that if we were having this kind of session in a couple of years from now, desktop would be just another device, rather than being seen as the sort of the premium access point for the internet, because it really isn't anymore.
And
but
also,
Matt, when we look at those kinds, sorry, go ahead, Mike.
In different parts of the world, people don't have desktops. All they've got is mobile, and that's their first experience of the internet. So the idea of having a desktop is totally alien to them.
I think you're right. I was talking with a company, an African bank, the other day, and in fact, most of their staff, they go outside and use their mobile to access their recruitment system or their pad because it's better connectivity than they have on their network in the building.
Yeah.
So I guess that's desktop on the move then instead.
Out of Africa.
Yeah. So guys, let me ask you the question. I mean, we've been hearing about mobile, and Matt and you and Mobile Dave and others have been blatting on for years that the mobile is where internet is. But you've been over to the U.S. for the mobile recruiting conference the last couple of years, and it's not even a discussion about when or if, it just is, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just is, and I think it just is in this country as well. At some point, this year, access to the internet from mobiles is going to overtake desktops if it hasn't already. So, to me, it's not a conversation of, is this happening? It's a conversation of what are the implications? Is it, how is it different from what's gone before? What do recruiters need to do? I think the other thing to say is that anyone who's recruiting, who's using job boards or social media, is already mobile. 75% of social media traffic comes from people's mobile devices. Most job boards are getting up to anywhere between sort of 30 and 40% of their traffic is coming from mobile. And if you're receiving traffic to your websites from those sources, that traffic is already going to be mobile. So whether you like it or not, you're already mobile recruiting. And really, the conversation is how you, what do you need to do differently to make the most of that.
Well, that's some of the how we want to talk about, isn't it, Mike? What about websites? I was at an event last week where we asked the audience in the morning, recruiters in the corporate in the afternoon agencies, how many of them actually had a mobile-enabled website. The corporates, there's maybe half a dozen hands went up. In the afternoon with the recruiters, about 2 people raised their hand. It seems like a big leap of faith that these companies have got to make now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I had a similar experience in February. I was talking at the Recruitment Agency Expo, and there were 90 recruiters in the room, and only 5 people had any idea of what their mobile traffic stats were anyway. So it's not uncommon, and like I say, it's been like this for years, unfortunately. I think it's down to a lack of education and awareness of what the problems are. Because you and I probably do our banking online and perhaps do online shopping, and we're used to that as a way of life now. But for some reason, recruitment seems to be lagging behind retail. And so I don't know if it's because they don't appreciate what they're losing. If you put a monetary figure on it, I mean, Amazon and eBay wouldn't dream of not having a mobile presence because they lose money every single day. But I'm not sure from a recruitment point of view it's actually been translated that way. So the fact that a business doesn't have a mobile website doesn't seem to be a big deal, and I think until it's sort of spelled out financially, they won't see what the actual pain is.
Well, doesn't that mean, I mean, I've got a mobile device here. It's not the greatest thing for reading on. So it seems to me a lot of companies just say, all I need to do is shrink my site down to fit that device. That doesn't really work, does it?
No, I mean, I did I actually visited the FTSE 100 companies about 18 months ago, and I think 5 out of 100 had a mobile enabled career site. And I'm going to be doing that survey again, and I wouldn't expect the results to go up that much. But a lot of companies now are looking into, okay, we can't, because they're massive corporates, they can't make the whole site mobile enabled, but they're actually taking the career site and making that part mobile enabled. So, and I know Matt, his company does a bit of that as well, but I think the idea is to do something, test it slowly, rather than spend months and years trying to get the whole site done and operational.
Can I just ask you a quick question?
And you're right, and if you talk to some corporates, they sit in the middle. Where sorry, Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, just a quick question on these corporate mobile-enabled corporate websites for career sites. If a candidate goes directly to a career page on a corporate site and they haven't uploaded a CV, how do they apply on their mobile device?
It depends how that corporate's got that apply process set up.
There are actually lots of ways. There are actually lots of ways to do it. Some companies who have gone down this route are using saved social profiles. So you might have a saved LinkedIn profile. There's an apply with LinkedIn button that works on mobiles. Monster have an apply with Monster profile button that works on mobiles. And likewise, you can integrate sites like Google Drive and Dropbox to access that saved data. Likewise, there are lots of technology solutions that will take an existing sort of ATS mobile system and allow people to access that on their mobile. So technically, it's not. It technically is a challenge that's on its way to being solved. I think the real question is that the kind of the technical part of it is can be solved, but if a company has an application process that needs essay questions or is 25 pages long, with the best technology in the world, that won't work on a mobile. So there's a really good question there about does the company adapt its application process so it will it will be user friendly on a mobile, or do they drive people to a desktop to apply? And I think that is quite an interesting debate that we're going to be having in the next year or so.
I don't know how educated the audience is, and I'm not trying to be patronising here, but if I think about the general demographic of candidates out there to take the initiative to set up a Dropbox account and upload their CV in case they find a job that they want to apply to while they're on the move. Maybe that's all going to change in the future as people become more savvy to using cloud-based data storage to keep essential documents ready for this type of eventuality.
Yeah, I think it's really horses for courses. I think you have to really take into account who your audience is and what they're used to. All of these things are still very much a workaround, in my opinion. I think that the serious debate around mobile applications is probably yet to start. So, I think if you're recruiting sort of highly IT literate people, cloud-based document upload is absolutely fine. And I think that having a mobile apply process that kind of fits your audience is possible at all levels, and a lot of it is down to what data do you really need in the application, or what data do you really need to start the recruitment process? Do you need all of this information up front, or is some basic data that people could input directly from their phone enough to get the recruitment process rolling? And I think it's different for it's different for every type of audience. I think that that kind of adds to the richness of the debate around how mobile recruitment is going to play out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and we've got a couple people that are asking the questions about whether or not the major ATSs are ready for this. It was one of our people, I think Charles Britton, has said he's here. The Lumes is. I know I've done some work with Taleo recently, and they do have a mobile-enabled career portal now. Although some of the customers, I think, of the large ATSs are turning to things like Jibe or other third-party solutions to create the mobile site first. As Mike was saying, rather than try and fix the whole corporate site, if you do the mobile site with a separate platform and then integrate it back into the corporate career site, perhaps that's one of the solutions. Or they might have to build it themselves. And Matt, is there a technology platform that says, hey, this technology, is it HTML5? Is there a technology I should be using?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question. I think the big debate around mobile sites is whether you have one site that is responsive and adapts to the different devices that are being used, or whether you build standalone sites for mobile. I'm very much of the opinion that you should build separate sites for mobile. You shouldn't have a one size fits all solution. Now you can build responsive mobile sites that adapt to different screen sizes, but I think it should be different from your desktop site. And it's not really necessarily a question of technology, it's a question of context and content. So thinking about what the user is going to do on a small screen. Mobile people, when they're in kind of mobile mode, tend to be much more action orientated. They're looking for information much quicker. They're looking to act very quickly. And if you have just your desktop site that functionally works on mobile, does it serve the needs of the user? Is it easy to find the information? Can they click through and take action very, very quickly? So personally, I'm of the view that you should build a separate mobile site, and you should really think about how that site works best on a mobile device, rather than just having a site that kind of shrinks and gets bigger for for all platforms, particularly content as well, because certain types of content work excellently on mobile, and as you already said, sometimes long form copy, which we seem to love in the recruitment industry, isn't necessarily the best option.
So we got a couple of questions coming in, and Mike, I was going to say to you, along as well as you talk about that piece about sites, the other question I would ask in the same vein about getting a mobile site is, 2 years ago at your events, it would have all been about apps. We all had to have a mobile app. What happened to apps? Where are they?
I think they're still there. I think a lot of the big corporates tend to have it more from a branding point of view. But what was interesting for the Mobile Recruitment Awards we ran back in March, JobServe launched their July 2013 their latest iPhone app, and they'd had 500,000 job applications just through the app alone. So apps is definitely being used. I think more so by the job boards and also by corporates, probably less so by the smaller companies, but they're still there, yeah.
Right. So we're talking about the corporate side, both you and Matt. What about the recruitment agencies? A large part of our audience for the Rec Hangouts are agencies. Should they bother getting the whole mobile thing, or just hopefully depend on people to just send their CVs in to their jobs they have on their career site, on their website?
Well, they're probably posting jobs on job boards, so they're relying on the job boards having a mobile-friendly site. But if they think of it from a customer point of view, the job seeker is their customer, so if a customer goes to their website, they should get the best possible experience. So I think it's wrong to say, why should I bother? Let the job boards or the other sites do it for me.
Yeah, and to add to that, as I said at the beginning, but by the end of the year, over 50% of internet traffic is going to come from mobile devices. And what's the point of having a desktop website that is only going to sort of function and work properly for the minority of the internet audience? So clients who are looking to find out more about the company, lots of them will be coming from mobile. And from a candidate perspective, I think what you've also got to remember is that people are probably less likely to be searching for new jobs or looking at recruiter information from their work computer, and these days there's a huge sections of the audiences that you guys are working with might not even own a laptop or a desktop at home, that outside of their work computer they've got a tablet or a smartphone. So it's not something that people are using just on the move. The mobile web is the primary source of home internet access, and if you're if you're looking to get an audience from the internet, then you have to take mobile into account.
I think if you're talking from the agency perspective, Alan, and I think in terms of creating an app, is that really worthwhile for an agency? I think I've seen so many agency websites, our customer websites, other agency websites, and nearly all of them are not responsive. There's the odd few that are. I'd personally, if I was a decision maker at an agency, I'd be putting my money towards making sure the website was responsive first and worked on mobile devices before thinking about perhaps an app. Which, I mean, would a candidate sign up to a recruitment agency app?
Possibly.
Depends on the individual and what the job they're trying to do, really.
So let me ask you the question then too about devices. I've got my iPhone, and Mike still probably has a Nokia phone going back, So he might actually have a real phone network.
When I was there, we had 40% market share.
And you've still got the phone to prove it, I know. But we've got an iPhone or a Samsung or whatever the smartphone device might be. We've got, small, medium, and large pad devices, depending on who describes them. Or, quite honestly, my MacBook Air, as far as I'm concerned, might just as well be considered a mobile device because I'm sitting outside here with it plugged into a dongle. So, that's a mobile device. How do I get my content on to be ready for all of these various sites. Now, I've heard the phrase adaptive design, which sounds great. How do our listeners actually understand what the heck that means?
Yeah, do you want me to answer that?
Sure,
Basically,
have a shot, yeah.
Adaptive design is producing different templates that work on different devices. One of the downsides of it is it can be expensive because you're effectively producing 5 or 6 different websites. There are obviously software packages on the market that can fix that for you, but promoting my own product on this webinar would be inappropriate, so I won't talk about that. I think the interesting thing is in terms of content. I think the difference, Alan, between your MacBook Air and some of the other devices that we're talking about is touchscreen, basically. So many tablets and smartphones are touchscreen, and I think you need to think about how does my content work and how can I interface with something when I don't naturally have a keyboard in front of me. So there's no kind of shortcut or easy way of saying this. This is this is the kind of reality that we're in. We've shifted towards people accessing our information from a wide range of devices, and pretending it's simple to solve would kind of be lying. So it's something that we've just all got to kind of get used to and really rethink our strategies and think about what types of content might work across all platforms. And pictures and video are something that does work across all platforms. But really, this is the reality that we're living with. It's only gonna accelerate. And I think that the smartest, most savvy companies out there will be the ones who are quickest to take advantage of it.
Well, and we're getting some good comments in from the Twitter stream that Louise is feeding into the chat room, where people are asking this question. It seems like technology is continually evolving, and like, what's it going to be 12 months from now? And you've mentioned, Matt, the potential cost involved of developing my websites and my content for multiple devices. The bottom line is if I'm a recruitment agency, it's what's in it for me to be doing all of this. Am I really going to lose candidates if I don't have, a web app that fits on all these devices?
Can I just come in with a bit of feedback in terms of why should I have a mobile? I think there was a question from a recruitment agency, why should I bother, because the job boards do it for me. There was a survey by Google probably about 18 months ago, wasn't necessarily recruitment specific, but it was mobile users in general, and having a non-mobile friendly website can actually damage a company's reputation, and 52% of people are less likely to engage with a company, and 48% felt the company didn't care. So if you want to run your business, then half the people that come here can't actually engage with you because it's not mobile, and you're actually upsetting 48% of the people. Then I think you need to question, what are you there for? You want people to be able to use your site, register with you because you want to place them and obviously get some income from it. So why are you making it difficult?
I think to follow up on that, I think the one thing for a recruitment company to think of is conversions. So it's what kind of conversion rates are you getting from your site at the moment, and it's not necessarily that that they're going to go down immediately, but they will go down over time if you don't address mobile. But what advantage could you get from using mobile? Could you convert more candidates and more candidates and clients? And I think that's the kind of key thing. So I speak to lots of recruiters who seem to be happy with the status quo and claim they don't see any issue or damage from not having a mobile approach. But I'd kind of flip that around and say, well, what advantages are you missing out on? Could you be increasing your kind of the positive brand awareness, but also converting more of the traffic that comes to your website into quality placeable candidates?
Well, let's be honest though, Matt. I mean, how many candidates that have seen a job advertised on a job board or have been engaged with by a recruiter will actually go to the recruitment website? it's probably quite a small percentage of them. So I understand what Mike's saying, that it's not good for the customer experience if the customer is the candidate and the candidate wants to investigate the person talking to them. But my experience of candidate behaviour is that they will be more interested in the end client that's potentially recruiting than they will in the agent that's representing the vacancy. Is that not true?
Yeah, I don't dispute that. I'm working with an agency at the moment though that only 30% of their candidates are now coming from job boards, and 25-30% plus are coming from social media, and those candidates coming from social media are going to view the jobs actually on their on their website. So yeah, I mean it's kind of a mixed approach, but I just think that over time, it's something that everyone's going to have to do because the internet is changing, and I think it's better to look at it now sooner rather than later.
It might be bad for recruiting for their own staff.
Well, and a couple themes that are coming out about this as well. We're talking about the easy accessibility because of mobile. One of our viewers and listeners has said, well, it's going to make it too easy. It takes you back to the days when Keith Robinson used to talk about going online, and the prodigious digit meant that anybody could apply for anything, anywhere. It seems to me with mobile, we potentially could even exacerbate that problem, couldn't we? It's just going to be way too easy for people to apply to jobs.
Can I answer that? Because I've actually, I've seen real life stats and campaigns on this, and most of the people that I've worked with, most of the case studies that I've seen, the quality of candidates coming from mobile has actually been higher than desktop. I kind of hear that all the time in terms of, well, we're making it really easy to apply, we're gonna we're gonna get the wrong candidates and all that kind of stuff, and it just doesn't kind of bear out in the in the work that I've seen happening. Basically, you're giving people the opportunity to look at hopefully more targeted information and make those decisions. So it's a personal view, and but it's based on a number of projects that I've worked on, and I've just not seen that. I've not seen that happening. If anything, I've seen the opposite happening.
Well, I can perhaps offer some light on that as to why that might happen. We've been doing some quite extensive research into candidate behaviour, and what we've identified is that passive or semi-passive, semi-active candidates, people who are in work, tend to look in very short stints of time. They'll only sort of look for 15 minutes at a time in their lunch break or in the early evening. They tend to do that from a mobile device, and I'm guessing that if a mobile device makes it easier for those types of people to apply, and when we consider that people already in work possibly represent some of the higher quality applications received, then that could be the reason for quality increasing from mobile applications.
Mike, what about some of the stats for the people that come to your events? I mean, have you had any sort of conversations about this? Is it too easy, or is it generating higher quality?
To be honest, it hasn't really come up as a problem, and no, I don't remember anyone specifically say, well, I've got a problem, I've got too many people and they're rubbish quality. So no.
Well, unlike most recruitment advertising, then.
So,
sure, go ahead, Mark.
Where does SMS fit into the whole recruitment process? Are we going to start pushing jobs out on SMS? And if everybody started doing that, aren't all the candidates going to get frustrated with the volume of text that they receive?
I certainly hope not. That we're going to start pushing SMS jobs out and things like that. The campaign that I referred to back in 2006 was actually an SMS campaign, and we got loads of complaints for doing it. For doing it back then. So I think there's a couple of interesting things around SMS. I think SMS is excellent within the recruitment process for keeping people in touch, sending reminders, ongoing communication, all that kind of stuff. As an advertising or a marketing medium, I don't think it's appropriate. What is interesting though is obviously we're seeing a move away from SMS to the WhatsApp and the Snapchats and the WeChats and the the app-based messenger chat services, and inevitably, if if WhatsApp's worth $19 billion, there must be some marketing and advertising options either available or on their way soon. So I don't think it's going to be SMS, but I wonder whether there might be some opportunities or some options coming from the Snapchats and the WhatsApps of the world. Whether they'll be any good or appropriate, or be good for candidates or annoy candidates, I couldn't say at this point.
I mean, there are some intelligent ways to perhaps use that. Maybe following up to an application by sending a video to somebody's mobile device. If they've got a corporate video that the client's provided to the recruiter as part of a retention strategy, not letting people drop out of the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the advantage of SMS and also push notifications is that they get read pretty quickly. So there's not many people that have unread messages on their phone, whether a text message or a push notification, but emails can go unopened for days and days. So from a responsive point of view, it is very quick. But like Matt says, I don't think there's a lot of activity going on at the moment.
So how should we be using this then to attract candidates? Mobile, we know. How do we get content right for this? Are there different things we should be using, whether we're looking for a WhatsApp or a Snapchat or a Pinterest application to latch onto, or are there other techniques we should be using with our mobile recruiting strategy to really take advantage of these devices as an outbound marketing program? Matt, any ideas?
Oh, sorry, just unmuting myself. Yeah, I think there's lots of opportunities. I mean, the focus of the debate at the moment is around kind of fixing the hole in the funnel, if you like, in terms of providing that sort of mobile information and conversion platform for people. But I think there's huge opportunities to think about how we can actually use what's intrinsically built into the mobile device, as a way of reaching people. In terms of content, I can't think I kind of said it earlier. Video is amazingly popular on mobile. I mean, the number of YouTube views on mobile is kind of enormous. There's some really interesting technology coming with NFC and iBeacons and various other sort of location-based stuff. And before long, I think we'll start seeing mobile first or mobile only job boards and different ways of interfacing with candidates. So I can't remember which job site it was in the States who kind of adopted the sort of Tinder method of candidate sorting. So you're kind of flipping CVs right if they're a match and left if they're not a match. So I think there are going to be some really interesting possibilities in terms of people doing things or using them at the moment. I haven't seen much evidence of it because I think everyone's getting to grips with the mobile internet in general. But I think that there are some fantastic targeting options and things that we'll see in the future.
And I guess,
Mike, does that reflect what's going on in your event with your people that are both coming and as well as showing their story? Has everybody mostly been worried about let me get the tools right as opposed to let me think about how I'm going to proactively go out and get content and push it out to people?
Well, I think after 4 years of doing it, it's still how do I do it? We're still at the early stage where people still are unclear as to what they need to do. And I think you've always got the early adopters that will go that one stage further and do, for example, you can do AdWords just to appear on mobile. So if you're trying to target people, that's an option you could actually do right now, which has not been used very much. But the majority of people, and I think that's it's proven by the iMomenta study in the US, and something like 5% of the Fortune 500 companies, they've only got a mobile-enabled career site. So there's a long, long way to go, and people are still at the stage of help, what do I do? Rather than let me know about all these different targeting methods I could do instead.
Isn't that because it's still pretty fragmented, and maybe the advent and the improvements to voice interactive technology will help pull it all together? Because ostensibly a mobile device is meant for talking into, and if we can instruct you know, our cloud-based document holding solution systems to pull together and provide us with documents and information and to do the things we want to do. Maybe that's going to be the tipping point.
Yeah, I think there's a danger that we try and overcomplicate things, because I get an email once a week from Thomas Cook, and I typically read it on my mobile. And if it's a nice holiday, I'll click on it and have a look. But I don't press a button and book it there and then, because I want to go home in front of my desktop, look at the resort, how long's the transfer to the airport, and all those types of things. Am I free that week? How much does it cost? And if you think of that from a job point of view, you'll probably read your jobs by email, maybe on the train on the way to work or on the way coming back from work. But not many people would suddenly say, yes, that's the exact job I'm looking for, I'm going to apply. So we haven't even got the basics right in terms of the number of people actually adopting and actually implementing mobile yet. So I think we need to, like I said earlier, actually increase the amount of awareness so people can make an informed choice in terms of what they need to do.
Thank you, Mike. It's a good point for us just to do a quick reset. I'm Alan Whitford, and we're here with Louise Triance, Louis Welcomme, and Mark Stevens as host of the Rec Hangout. Today our topic is how should we be using mobile in recruitment, and we've got Mike Taylor from Based Recruitment and Matt Alder of MetaShift sharing their breadth of experience and knowledge with us about how to use mobile and also just how to get your recruitment right. And guys, doesn't it come back to that even to begin with? It, if we haven't got a good process in place, and if we don't actually know what our content is, and if we don't have a little bit of budget to do our marketing, it almost doesn't matter worrying about mobile, does it?
Well, it does, because it goes back to our discussion earlier about making it easy for the candidate. And if 50% of the candidates or the people to your website can't actually view it, you are actually going to lose people to other companies that do have a mobile presence.
And to kind of pick up on that, I think one of the problems with the debate around mobile is it's a very it tends to be a very binary debate. It's like it's this, it's either everything's mobile or nothing's mobile, and really it's kind of picking up on Mike's point. This is all kind of shades of grey, and it's I'm not suggesting that the only way you're going to recruit or get candidates for your business is via a job board that you convert on your mobile site. I mean, of course, there are lots of different ways of thinking about it, and I think that at the moment, lots of people just don't have mobile in the mix at all. And I think having it in the mix and exploring what it can offer you that's different is really interesting. I also think we talked about mobile apply and the problems of getting a physical CV across the mobile internet. And what we haven't talked about is how mobile might change recruitment when everyone's using it as their main sort of internet access point, and what some of the advantages are. So to me, a mobile application of the future could be some very basic information. It could be additional information pulled down from social profiles or somewhere on the cloud, and then things like video interviewing. That video interviewing works really well on mobile phones. In fact, it's more convenient for people than perhaps doing it on their desktop. So I think sometimes we get into this argument about should we or shouldn't we, and we don't look at the possibilities and consider how mobile can enhance lots of areas of the recruitment process, or how indeed it might change it.
That's a good point, because video interviewing has clearly changed the recruitment process, because it has replaced the stage of the process for a lot of companies. So it's much easier to understand how that's been plugged in and worked, because you're actually doing what we're doing now, looking into a webcam, actually answering questions as part of the recruitment process. But with mobile, it's sort of like Matt says, you either got it or you haven't. Should I have it? Should I not? It's one of those ongoing discussions where video interview, it's very clear. It's part of the process now.
And that kind of, in one sense, doesn't parallel the discussions we've had about social over the last 2 or 3 years. Social is just another set of channels to engage with candidates, and mobile is just another one of the devices we might engage with them. And let's not forget that mobile actually is still a telephone. So yeah. I could actually receive a call on my mobile and talk to you, or as you just said, use the video. Whereas Mark wants to know, what about some of the Siri type stuff, the voice actuated things? I don't even necessarily need a keyboard to use my mobile to look at jobs, hear what the job is all about, and even say, apply now. Maybe
Well,
I'm
I
a little
think
too far in the future, but
yeah, I think that's right. I think we've passed peak keyboard. So keyboards keyboards as we know it are kind of on their way out. And I think if you look at some of the emerging replacements for that, obviously touchscreen technology we all use every day with our smartphones and tablets. Things like Siri and whatever Microsoft's version of it's called, I can't quite recall. They can be they can be seen as not particularly serious because sometimes they don't work, but the fact that they're commercially available in everyone's phone really kind of shows us that that's the direction things are going in. Samsung have been experimenting with user interface by eye tracking, which is in their phones. Again, doesn't work particularly well, but as we know, technology always improves over time. And there's even a device that you can buy where you can actually play games using brainwaves. So it's kind of all there. The future is laid out before us. I'm not suggesting for any minute that it's going to change things this year, but I think we can see the direction that things are going in, and the idea in the future that we'll be tethered to a keyboard, and a keyboard will be the only meaningful way that we can communicate. Only meaningful user interface is not the case, and alternatives are already out there, and it'll be interesting to see how they develop.
This sounds like a catchphrase. The future is now, doesn't it?
Yeah,
absolutely. You don't see people, the people who are using Google Glass, kind of strapping a keyboard around their neck to to talk to it. There are other things that are being experimented with.
Well, it does remind me of years ago when we did one of the future of recruitment conferences, when we used to talk about what the future of recruitment was going to be, and I of a guy driving his Corvette, across America. Of course, it's 60 miles an hour because it's America, but he has a heads-up display. And as he's driving, the job pops up on his heads-up display, and the voice comes over his in-car system going, "Do you want to look at this job?" And I go, "Yes, I do." And then the GPS kicks in and it says, "Right, turn right here and go back to where the interview is." And we were just laughing and kind of making it up as we were going along. But all of that today is totally possible, isn't it?
Well, I think you've only got to look at what is happening with a service called Google Now. It'd be one for all you Android phone users, but if you look at Google Now in some ways is terrifying because it pulls in all kinds of all kinds of data from your phone, including data that you probably don't even know is being saved. And tries to make your life easier. It tells you when you need to leave if you're walking, if you're going to make the next meeting, and all that kind of stuff. I even found a feature on my iPhone the other day that you can go back and it gives you a record of where you've been for the last month, based on the GPS. So I think this whole sort of the age of context is what it's being called is really interesting, and I think it'll have some interesting implications for recruitment.
Interesting. Well, we've got about, I guess, around just a little over 10 minutes to go. Mark, you sit there on both the software side as well as side. How does your agency side of your business, view mobile?
I think that we look at the candidate behaviours in the sense that, I'll be honest with you, we probably aren't as advanced on mobile as what we should be. I'm more interested in what we're doing with mobile for Smart Recruit Online than I am for F10, the agency business. But we are rebuilding our website for F10 at the moment, and that is going to have a responsive design. I think there's some good things that have come up today in terms of the future uses of it, but I'm probably of the school that thinks at this moment in time it's not too damaging to our business, but we know that we've got to do it, and we're in the process of rectifying that, as are a large number of the agency population, I guess.
Mark, how do you think recruitment agency bosses view? We talk about candidates a lot, but consultants accessing data easily outside the office, on the move, from home, on mobile devices, and so forth. Is that an issue still, or?
Not for me, because they're not really accessing that information on our own website. That tends to be just what's out there on the web.
Through the CRM, I mean.
Well,
is that something consultants are still doing just at their desks, or is it something that, do you think recruitment agencies will be happy to let them?
Well, let me share an interesting statistic with you that I picked up this morning. My gym is conveniently placed right next door to the home group, and I was in the gym this morning next to the head of procurement for the home group, who informed me that there was a massive resurgence in the acquisition of laptops by business customers who were frustrated with some of the restrictions of doing business on a mobile device. We're making a move back to a laptop. Now, this is people voting with their feet. This is based on real statistics, people spending money, business customers. And you know, when I get home, if I'm going to do some work when I get home, I'll stick my laptop on. I don't actually do it on my mobile device. I'll flick through my social. I'll respond to comments on on threads in LinkedIn groups and things that I'm involved with. But I'm not doing real business. It's the periphery stuff that I tend to do on my mobile device.
All right, well, I think that might bring us to an interesting question. We have talked about the outbound and about the candidate communications, and of course as recruiters we're all obsessed about candidates, but we haven't been talking about how do I use this inside my business. As I said, I know the stuff I've been working on with Taleo, that they've got a mobile portal, but it's a candidate mobile portal. It's not a recruiter user mobile portal. So Matt, Mike, I mean, where do you see the developments of the CRMs in terms of the business application as opposed to the candidate-centric piece?
I don't really have a lot to do with CRMs, to be honest, so I'll have to pass on that one.
Abstain.
All right, Matt, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point. I mean, I think the laptop comment is an interesting point. The overall statistics kind of point to another trend, basically, in that laptop sales continue to fall, sort of year on year. Interestingly, the growth in tablet sales is leveling off as well. So tablets they're still growing, but they're not growing as quickly as perhaps they were. So maybe there's an interesting something going on there between laptops and tablets. However, smartphones just going through the roof. So smartphone is a whole sort of new category of stuff. So I think it's interesting. I think that if you look at the changes recently at the top of Microsoft, and Microsoft releasing its Office suite for iPad, it kind of sort of points into the direction that business applications are having to go more mobile. The next version of Office is actually potentially going to be touchscreen controlled for even more functionality on an iPad. So I think in the now it's about being able to access data on the move and have as much functionality as you need, but really I stick by my points on Peak Keyboard. I think we're going in we're kind of going in that touchscreen direction, and I think that if you are a CRM or a business application, you just need to think about how you work effectively on the device that your customer chooses to access you, and that's going to be that might be different for different customers, but working properly on their device of choice, I think, is an important thing to do.
Well, it's interesting. I'm just going back through some of the comments we've had, and I think Roger, who runs an organization, did a mail shot this week to graduates, and he said 50% of the opens were from desktops. And you would have thought that was the audience would be like 90% mobile opens. So I find that interesting too. Is it, if nothing else, it kind of shows us we always run the danger of doing absolutes based on percentages. Maybe not everybody in certain parts of the country is mobile enabled yet. And hey, out where I live in the Cotswolds, I can't do anything on my mobile. I have to do everything on the desktop because I have no mobile reception. So there's a challenge there as well, isn't there?
I think that's an important point. I mean, you really have to know your target, know your target audience, and that 50% stat is interesting because it means that 50% of people did open it on their mobile. But and understanding the target audience, I think, is important. Very often with mobile, it can be people that you might not expect. So people tend to think that heavy mobile audiences are only tech audiences or graduates or young people, those kind of things. But actually, I've seen mobile campaigns work really effectively for drivers, nurses, people who don't sit at a desktop computer all day and rely on their mobile as their kind of access point with the wider world. So I think that it's important to research and understand your audience, and I think sometimes the assumptions that we make aren't necessarily the case. And assuming that your candidates behave with technology in the same way that you do is often a very dangerous mistake to make.
Well, you're right. It's what I said earlier when you talk about social. It's the same thing. It's not much sense having a Facebook campaign if the people you're trying to reach aren't on Facebook, is it? So we got about 4 or 5 minutes to go here. I'll just do a quick sort of recap then. One, we want to thank the people who have been firing questions in at us and apologize if we haven't gotten to all of them, but Charles, Ash, Tony, and Roger have all been sending stuff in via Louise. Guys, a couple of minutes to go. If you had to say, here's the one takeaway that I would want someone to have about why and how they should use mobile in recruitment today, what would it be? Matt, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I would challenge people to think. At the moment, I think what's happening is people are thinking about how can they adapt what they've already done so it kind of functions on mobile. And I challenge people to think, what would I do if I was designing something mobile first? So if I was designing my business processes or my website or whatever it is, and I was designing it from the point of view that over sort of 50% of the people that I'm interacting with are looking at it on a small phone, what would I do differently? And I think that might unlock some different ways of thinking and some possible huge business advantages.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Mike, your thoughts?
I think it's a case of acknowledging that in the future you need to have a mobile presence. Now, whether it's something you do, as I mentioned earlier, to a small part of your career site rather than the corporate career site, or whether as a recruitment agency you might have a simple WordPress website, in which case get a website that's got a responsive design so it does it for you automatically. But the main thing is to do something, because the problem's not going away. We've seen the stats growth year on year. LinkedIn have gone over 50% now of all their traffic comes from a mobile device. Majority of recruiters use LinkedIn, I would think. They're used to mobile, and it's only going in one direction, so you need to embrace it rather than ignore it.
Well, I think you're right about the get ready to do something, and I seem to remember you and I being on platforms for years when we talked about online recruitment, and then job boards, and then social, and now mobile. Please just do something. And with that sort of note, over to Louis. Thank you, gentlemen. Louis, a little wrap up from you.
Hi, I mean, just from our perspective, Alan, I think from the agency side, sort of 3 areas for them to think about. Certainly having a responsive website. I think the CRM providers need to be plugging into that website easily, and I think the consultants need to be able to access the data. Mark, I love your halo. I think the consultants need to be accessing the data, from any location, and being able to get the alerts they need and the analytics they need, and their pipelines through their mobiles and tablets in the evenings, at weekends, wherever they are. So that's really what we're trying to work on, and just the basics at this stage from the agency side. So, did you want me to go into our next hangout? Details for that?
I think we want to do that, Louis. Let's. What are we doing in a couple weeks' time?
The next one's a bit different. We've got a UK Recruiters event on the Thursday, which is Louise's event. That's the 5th. So we're going to be trying a live hangout on the 5th from UK Recruiters event in London, Alan. So there's a load of experts there. We've got all sorts of people to give their opinions. Alan's going to be hosting. We're going to see how it goes. So if you're not actually coming to the event, do tune in to that. It's all about
So
recruitment.
does that mean I have to bring my car? Do I have to bring my new mobile office and sit outside then?
I think
burger van as well, Alan, please.
They might even have they might even have wireless for you, Alan. There
might have wireless for us. That'll be good.
Yeah.
One of the things, by the way, because I know Louise is very shy, guys, but if you're out there and you're listening and you haven't signed up for the June 5th event for UK Recruiter, get onto the website and sign up now. Don't be a typical recruiter and wait till the very last minute. Give Louise a break and sign up now. We've got workshops, we've got vendors bragging about what they can or can't do for you, and as Louise said, hey, you could be part of a live hangout, so it's worth coming.
Yeah.
Matt, Mike, thank you very much for sharing your time and your knowledge with us today. I know we could probably talk about this for another 2 or 3 hours at least. And Matt, you mentioned you have some sort of technology solution that helps people with mobile?
If you want to go to 3sparks.com, that's the word 3, THREESPARKS.com, you can read all about it there.
Great. And Mike, when's your next event?
We've just run an online event, Mobile Recruiting Strategies. In fact, we've just actually opened up the content for free for a limited time. So if you go to mobilerecruitingstrategies.com, you'll get over 4 hours of presentations, including LinkedIn, Accenture, Dave Martin from 3Sparks, and loads of free information. So mobilerecruitingstrategies.com.
What we'll do, every time after this, we put some notes together and we send it out to everyone who signed up and who signed up to previous events, Hangouts rather, and we'll make sure those links are in there.
Fantastic. Well, Louis, Mark, Louise, again, thanks for co-hosting us. Another successful Rec Hangout is in the can, and everybody will look forward to hearing and having you watch this in 2 weeks' time.
Super. Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.